When the stars in our night skies are aligned, you'll come to understand what I'm talking about. Or maybe a bit sooner if you're just a bit curious. Astrology is history, and its story is what I'm talking about. So gather up your tablet, your phone, and head out to your favorite hill this evening and watch the stars as you listen to my soothing voice tell you all about what those little pricks of light in the sky can do for you to improve your life. Quite simply, then, astrology is a science. If it is a science, it is a study of how all the movement in our night skies affect our lives. And so you know, because I did just happen to mention it, astrology is not considered a serious science. Actually, it's not even considered as any kind of real science, which means I'm spending a lot of time on something that most people think is a lot of bullshit. And that is okay, because I'm old, retired, and got nothing better to do than waste your damn time. So buckle up as I start this celestial journey with the origins of astrology. Like just about everything else in existence, we can trace the origins of astrology back to ancient Mesopotamia some 2,000 years ago, where there are actual records of the Babylonians tracking the movements of stars. And those records, by the way, are a bit sophisticated. But tracking the movements of the night stars isn't astrology, that's astronomy. So when, why, or how did astrology derive from simply tracking those stars? That happened because somebody with nothing better to do decided that the movement of all those little lights in the sky were moving because the gods were moving them. And because of that, the movement must mean something to mere mortals. And that is how astrology came to be, with some old dude sitting on a hill looking up at the night sky and thinking to himself, the gods, they be fucking with me. And that took hold, and it came to be accepted that the celestial bodies that moved in the night sky were influencing human fate and events because the gods were sending us messages. Messages by way of the stars. And I have to wonder, how did such a weird and even abstract thought propagate through the entire world in all of history to the point where India, the Mayas, and the Chinese all had their own form of astrology? And like most things, there ain't no simple answer to that question. But there is a thought that astrology was intertwined with the other sciences. It is true that a lot of doctors back in the day thought that your health was tied to planetary positions. And the relationship between astronomy and astrology from ancient times on to not all that long ago were that both were kind of one and the same. Of course, astrology was often passed along when conquest and expansion came into play, and that the victors carried their belief in astrology with them, passing them along to the vanquished. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the reemergence of astrology during the Renaissance. When humanity discovered a lot of old shit that had been forgotten during the long, dark ages. And for those who never graduated beyond the third grade, the Renaissance was a period in our history that started around the 14th century and was the beginning of our long crawl out of those dark ages. And astrology during this time just didn't flourish. Astrology dominated the sciences back in the day, and then it was integrated into the medical field because it was believed to be a legitimate scientific discipline. And it was taught right beside mathematics, philosophy, and as I said, medicine at all the prestigious universities of the day. But P.T. Barnum was right. You can't fool all the people all the time. And people started catching on to the realities of astrology. And that's because people were getting smarter, realizing that there was no reality when it came to astrology. By the time of the 17th century, a time when scientific thought started taking hold, astrology as a science started its fade. Another contributing factor is that the church had grown tired of the power that those practicing astrology had over the masses and started labeling astrologists as those doing the devil's work. Astrology did make a revival along with spiritualism during the Victorian era in the mid 1800s, and yeah, astrology is around today, but it's a bit different than what astrology once was. Where ancient astrology predicted events and outcomes, today's astrologists offer up more advice on personal well-being in relationships. And yeah, if you want to see what the stars got to say, you should know that there is an app for that. No shit, astrology. What a gobsmack. I mean, when you stop to look at the origins of astrology and how they were so intertwined with all the other sciences throughout a good portion of our human history, it really speaks to the power of our desires, of our belief systems, doesn't it? Or am I just fucking nuts? It might be just fucking nuts. I don't know. But I mean, how did something that probably originated by a guy sitting on a hill thinking, boy, the gods are just fucking with me, to becoming an actual science in China, in India, and in the Mayan, South American civilization? I mean, how did it go from Mesopotamia and spread all over the world as a science, as a legitimate science, when there's no legitimacy to it? Did I say that right? Legitimate? Just interesting. Just interesting. If there's any takeaway from this video, it's that. Because, other than that, we know astrology isn't a real science these days. Science has taught us that. That's why science is good. But then again, would we even know if the gods were fucking with us? Because sometimes, okay, not sometimes, a lot of times, I do think the gods fuck with me. Yes, I do. And I'm completely honest about that. I won't say what God or how he fucks with me, but I will say God fucks with me. Of course, I do have an active imagination, so there's that. And I think it's time to do a shot of tequila and say, what the hell? I try, my friends. I do try. Seriously, I do try. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Short and quick. Sleep tight, my friends, under the stars, on a hill under the stars, staring at a night sky. You ever done that? You should. You wake up a different person in the morning.